Alright everyone, I want to thank you all so much for watching this video here along US Route 95 along the first 30 miles here in Arizona. So this particular video right here has been a long time coming because, as you guys know, I'm currently doing a series on US Route 95 here in YouTube that is currently going through Nevada, and then of course I also released a video of US 95 going through California last year. And a big chunk of US 95 that I was missing in this series was right here in Arizona, from its very beginning down here in San Luis, Arizona at the Mexican border, all the way up to Quartzsite, Arizona, which was the largest chunk of US 95 down here in the southwestern United States that I was missing, and I had yet to drive up to this point right here. So I just decided basically on a whim to come down here to this part of Arizona and start filming this section of US Route 95 through Arizona. Granted, it was only about a 100-mile stretch of US 95 that I had never filmed or even driven before, so I was really excited to see what type of things I would see here along US Route 95 in Arizona. And then of course the scenery and then the towns and cities that we pass through here in this video are basically the only towns and cities of any note here along US Route 95 in Arizona, because once you get past Yuma, it is pretty much a rural drive pretty much all the way through the rest of Arizona until you get to Quartzsite, where of course US 95 will eventually meet up with I-10, which will follow it into California there. But yep, this was just the last section of US Route 95 down in the southwestern United States that I had yet to drive, and I was really happy I was able to do it on this trip right here and film it for you guys and just show you what US Route 95 looks like down here at the very southern end of Arizona, down here in the southwestern United States. So obviously US Route 95 begins down there at the Mexican border in the city of San Luis, Arizona, and then goes north for about 1,500 miles through the interior Mountain West, through Arizona, California, Nevada, Oregon, and Idaho, and eventually ends up there at the Idaho border, where it becomes BC Route 95 as it enters Canada there and British Columbia there in the northern Idaho panhandle. So I am currently missing that stretch that goes all the way north up into Idaho, past basically the I-84 junction there near Ontario, Oregon. But I plan to drive that someday, and hopefully one of these days I'll be able to get up there and film it for you guys, so that way I can say that I've driven every single mile of US Route 95 from the Mexican border to the Canadian border. And let me tell you, US Route 95 sure goes through a lot of scenery changes in its 1,500-mile journey across the interior Mountain West of the United States. Of course, down here it basically starts in what is arguably the hottest part of the entire United States, down here where basically the Colorado River flows into Mexico and is also the lowest point in Arizona. And like I said in the video, this area is one of the hottest places in the United States and is also one of the driest places in the United States. When I was passing through this area in July of 2025, the temperature was roughly 110 degrees, and let me tell you, I pretty much felt every degree of Fahrenheit that the sun was beating on my body whenever I was outside of the car here in this area of the United States. The heat is definitely no joke, and you definitely want to come prepared if you're coming here in the middle of summer for the extreme heat. And it does not cool off very much at night. I can tell you very much that even the temperatures at night can be in like the mid to high 90s, and the hotel air conditioning inside my hotel when I was staying in Yuma, Arizona was basically on all night. So even at night there's basically no relief from the heat, so just be aware of that if you're coming down here in the middle of summer during like the peak summer season when the heat is really extreme in this part of the United States. It is pretty crazy just how hot and sunny and dry Yuma, Arizona is, because like I said in the video, this place averages about 3 inches of rain a year, which is basically on par with Death Valley, California, which is one of the hottest and driest places in the United States. And then of course in the wintertime the temperatures are pretty warm, and then you can even get some agricultural farming for like leafy vegetables here. But like I said in the video, like most of the US's leafy vegetables are grown in this area of the United States during the winter, just because the temperatures are still warm enough even in the winter time to warrant the agricultural production that comes out of this area of Arizona right here along the Colorado River. Overall, my experience in this area was very positive. I have no issues whatsoever with this area of Arizona. The place that I stayed at here in Yuma was very nice. The people were very friendly. And honestly, I'd love to come back to this area, probably during a much cooler time of the year than July of 2025. Let me tell you, it was hot here, and I definitely felt every degree of temperature when I was here. So maybe sometime, maybe during the winter, I can come back to this area and just do a little bit more exploring of the area, especially like there along the Colorado River, along the California-Arizona border, because there's some spots there in the southeastern part of California that I would love to visit and see too. Of course, not during the peak summer season when the temperatures are just unbearable and you basically can't do anything outside during the peak summer season here because it's just too hot. But yeah, this is a really cool area of Arizona. I definitely recommend it if you want to come down here and experience the culture and everything like that. Alright everyone, I just want to give a shout out to all my social media accounts that you see on the screen here, because I really am trying to grow my social media accounts beyond just here on YouTube. I would really appreciate it if you guys would check out my Instagram. I'm really trying to grow that social media platform, so I would really appreciate it if you guys would follow me on there. My username is just InterstateKyle. What's really cool about my Instagram is if I'm on a road trip, I will post on my story of where I am and what I'm doing, so it's just a really cool way for you guys to follow along with me in real time to see what I'm doing and what I'm up to. I know my videos on here can get pretty dated very quickly, so if you guys want to see what I'm doing in real time, I highly recommend checking out my Instagram, and I would really appreciate your support over there. You guys can also check out my Facebook group and my Twitter/X account. The links to all those are down in the description. Another thing I want to give a shout out to is my Patreon, which is a way for you guys to support me beyond YouTube here. If you guys want to join my Patreon, you guys can get special perks for joining, like watching all of my videos early before they are released here on YouTube. And all the money I make on there goes right back into this YouTube channel to keep producing more of these types of videos in the future. The link to my Patreon is also down in the description, so if you really want to check it out, I would really appreciate your extra support over there as well. And another thing that is set up on my channel is Super Thanks, which is located to the right of where you would normally like one of my videos. What that basically is just a way for you guys to tip me out for each video going forward if you feel that I've earned it, of course. And then all the money on there also goes right back to this channel to keep producing more of these types of videos in the future. And with all that said, folks, I really hope you all enjoyed watching this video here along US Route 95 in Arizona, between San Luis and the Mexican border and Yuma, Arizona. I want to thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope you all have an amazing day, and take care everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned to the next adventure, and we will see you next time.